And we are live. This is so exciting. Today is Sunday instead of Tuesday, and that's okay because Tuesday didn't work out for me this week, and I didn't want to miss a week. So we have Dalia here, who is an expert on emotional eating, and we're going to talk about that. First, I'll introduce myself. I'm Rebbetzin Bat-Chen Grossman from ConnectedForReal.com. And I am a God-centered marriage coach for women in business. And Dalia, you will introduce yourself because that's the most fun. Then we get to hear a little bit of the story and what's up. Go ahead.
So thank you, Bat-Chen, for having me here. I'm very excited to be in your live tonight. I am Dalia, and I'm a nutrition health coach, helping Jewish women lose weight in a balanced way by listening to their bodies. So yeah, that's what I do. And how do you listen to your body? Having a balance and figuring it all out.
Yes.
Listening to those signals that the body sends you, and digesting it, trying to trigger them.
Right. And we're going to talk about how this has to do with marriage. So definitely stay tuned. If you are listening or watching, make sure that you tell us that you're here, or if you're in the replay, #replay, because it would be so fun. You know what I realized when I always liked healthy food. When I was in high school, my friends used to make fun of me. Everybody's like, what's your favorite food? And it's like pasta, pizza, whatever, the random, everybody always said the same things. And I was like, salad. And it was like, who likes salad? But I love salad. Like when there's a salad bar, that is like my favorite thing. And I always saw myself as like a healthy eater and, on the healthier side. And then I realized how much I emotionally eat. And it has nothing to do with eating healthy or not healthy. It has to do with just realizing that you're turning to food as an escape.
Right. So you actually emotionally eating means that you are going to comfort yourself in order to cover a certain emotion, right? So we all need to understand what kind of emotion we want to satisfy and what is the right way to satisfy that emotion. So whether it's with food or something else,
right,
it's trying to figure that out, right? So there are many questions that you can ask yourself. Is this what I really need right now? Am I really hungry? There's a series of questions you need to talk to yourself about before you reach that comfort food, whether it's healthy or not healthy, right? I'm not talking about healthy food here. It's more about the emotional eating. And I think everybody has emotions, and everybody has that time of the day or the month or whenever that you are turning to food.
Right. I mean, you said, just talking about the connection between emotions and food, we're from such a young age, and especially like all cultures revolve around food.
Right.
Your comfort is the type of foods that your mother made and your grandmother made, and the things that, now I just finished the project with my daughter that they have to do for turning 12. And it's like the roots project. You go into your roots and you get really like, a whole project about you and your roots and whatever. And so when she introduced herself, it was like pulling teeth. Okay. Let's just be really clear here. So hard to do a project with a 12-year-old.
I have a 12-year-old as well, so I know what it's like.
This is my second time doing this project. The first time was much easier because she was on top of it and she was telling me what to do. This time around, it was the opposite. I was like, come on, let's sit down. Let's just finish one part, just one part. So the introduction, I just read it over today because I had to send it to the print. And in the introduction, she writes, my favorite foods are my grandmother's this and my father's this and my mother's this. And like she broke it down with relationships as, instead of saying it's just a random food, it was more like when my father makes this, it makes me really happy. And when my mother makes this, it makes me really happy. And I really like the food that my grandmother makes specifically on this holiday or whatever. It was like so eye-opening to see from such a young age how much we connect emotions and food.
Absolutely. And I think that's really beautiful how she turned it that way. It makes like this special connection to the grandmother or to her father. I think
Right.
it's really beautiful that she can turn to food like that. And some other people turn to food differently, right? And I think we also grow up, like you mentioned, in every culture, but you mentioned like food can be kind of a reward, like I would have ice cream because I had a tough day, or I'm too tired, or I deserve this because of that. And we just make food more of like a prize rather than just like nutritious food to keep on going, right?
Yes, yes.
Or we
Yeah.
also kind of tell our kids, if you do this well, if you tidy up your room, you might get an extra piece of dessert. Or it's also like the mindset that we grow with,
Oh
right?
yeah. Oh my gosh, there's so much around food. And by the way, we judge food, which is so neutral.
Right.
We're so harsh on food. Like I for many, many years had all these stomach aches, and every time I would look for what did I eat and what was the cause and what did I eat. And so, first it was that's it, I'm not eating eggs anymore because every time I eat eggs it hurts my stomach. And then it went to, whatever, everything. I had to like go through so much foods that I can't eat. So I no longer eat white flour, and I no longer eat sugars, and I no longer eat eggs, and now I'm not even drinking milk. And like, so what do I have left to eat? And then it was very early on when I was learning Byron Katie, the work by Byron Katie. And the work by Byron Katie is meant to be done on people and relationships. But I did the work on food. And
Wow.
it was the most mind-blowing experience I had because I realized how much I blame food for things that are probably not related to food.
So that's the thing.
Yeah, the next time it happened when I had a stomach ache at the end of a long Sabbath, I was like, okay, what did I eat? Wait a minute. No. How about what happened? Who was here? What happened during this day? And then I'm like, oh, I know. We had this guest who made me crazy and I kept it all inside and I didn't want to say the wrong thing or whatever. And I was like, okay, now I got to sit down and do some work on that. But it was such an eye opener.
Right. So sometimes, like I mentioned to you before already, but like we have the plate that we eat, we have our food on the plate, which is our protein, carbs, vegetables, but there's also the food that's not on the plate, right? And that's what I call primary food. And it's the food that also affects the way we feel. So if you're not good with your marriage, with your partner, that might affect also the way you feel, that stomach ache. Or how many times do we have our child not wanting to go to school because they have a stomach ache, but in reality that stomach ache is not really a stomach ache. They believe it's a stomach ache and it's real, they feel it, but it's
For sure. Yeah.
they feel it. And you need to listen to your kids and you need to really make sure you're there for them, but deep inside that stomach ache might be a test they don't want to do or somebody they don't want to face in school. So the same thing we have adults, right? And it's that food that's not on the plate, whether it's relationships, whether it's the financial situation in life, that food that's there that is not really on your plate, that is causing that bad feeling of your stomach, headache, whatever it is, right? And that's what I'm saying. You need to listen to your body because not necessarily it's that spinach, even if you're eating healthy, or that piece of bread that
Right.
is causing you to be bloated, but something else.
Yeah. It's so true. It's
Yeah.
so true. And that's where it connects to marriage, by the way, for all you listening. Um, it's just incredible how much is going on behind the scenes in your mind and in your body that is almost like a marionette, sort of projecting into your life without you even knowing.
Right.
And
Exactly. It's really in
it's
the subconscious there working.
right.
And yeah.
And that's the real work.
Right. So I have many clients coming to me because they want to lose weight. And then when we start I like have an elimination process where you remove certain foods to see if it's dairy, gluten, whatever it is, and then I reintroduce all food types into their diet. And then we realize it's also like the food that's not there. It's not really the food. It's really the way you sleep, the way your relationships, the exercise you do or don't do, your well-being, your self-care. Let's talk about self-care here. If you don't take care of yourself, how can you be there better for your husband, for your children?
Of course.
So, it's so much
Yeah.
involved.
Just this week, was it this week? Last week. Today's Sunday. Last week. So we had water exercise. And I love water exercise because it's in the water. And I was telling the girls there that, like, if my husband saw me doing exercise in the water, like, I'm so energetic and happy and like, wow. And, I got home and I'm huge pregnant and I'm like get into like on the couch and I'm like slouching and like horizontal most of the time and I can't do anything and I like and it's just amazing to see the difference because I'm such a social person. So I need this like active music, movement, people, jokes, whatever. It's so exciting for me. And then she said, is it like that with food also? Because I eat anytime. Like my problem is I'm just always eating. Do you only eat when there's like social things? And I was like, you know what? I think I do. Like I eat better. I enjoy my meal when it's part of a social thing, like when there's other people around, when we're talking, when there's a social happening. And when I'm just alone at home, like I have to eat my breakfast. I obviously eat my breakfast because I've gotten into a routine where if I don't eat my breakfast, then then it's not a good idea. So I make sure to eat. But my husband makes me food before he goes out because he knows that I'm just not going to have the energy to like take care of myself and do it for myself. He's the best. He really is. You guys should know.
Very nice. So yeah, you shouldn't skip meals because if you skip meals and you really don't have your balanced meals, like your protein, your vegetables, and you're not really balancing your blood sugar, and then is when actually cravings start coming in, and you need to be ready. So I would really recommend you have your 3 meals plus 2 snacks a day, and even an after dinner snack if you need to, just to have your blood sugar balance and not to really reach out to food.
Yeah.
It's easier said than done. I know it's easier said than done.
Now, I'll tell you what's funny is when you're saying that, I'm like, I eat a million meals a day. I don't know if it's because I'm skinny and my metabolism is fast, but like, or if I'm pregnant. Those are my two options. And they're probably both right. I eat and then like an hour later I eat again and then an hour later I'm like, let's do a smoothie and then let's do this and let's do that. I'm constantly like, eating. And I've realized that it's also part of like that filling up the day when I don't have that much going on in my day, let's say in the morning when most of my meetings are American hours or whatever, then suddenly my day is empty or I have some holes. I try to fill them with food, which is very interesting.
Well, a lot of people do that, but that's not really the right answer to fulfill
so what is the right answer? Let's hear from
you. Is trying to find those non-food alternatives or occupations to keep you going, right?
Okay, so
if you're skinny and you have a fast metabolism and everything works fine, then maybe it's okay. But that's now what will happen, as we get older. So I always suggest to actually, when you actually reaching that food, when you shouldn't be really eating in between meals, is like, ask yourself, do I really need this right now? Is this going to be satisfying me? If the answer is yes, go and have it. It's not like you should say no and deprive yourself, but maybe you don't need that. Maybe it's just really filling up your time to keep on going or to, fill up your afternoon. So whether maybe it's to do some meditation or some praying, whether it's to go for a walk, read a book to your kids, try to find a non-food alternative, and 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 keep, like, it's a practice. It also takes about building that habit. It doesn't happen overnight, so you need to really work on it. And one way that works for my clients is like keep a journal, keep a food journal at the end of the day, write down what time did you eat, what did you eat, and just keep track to see if you have any kind of, you know patterns. Was I bored, was I frustrated, was I tired, did I fancy some salty food, or was it more sweet, sugary, smoothie, a date, whatever it is, and see if you really have a pattern there.
Yeah. Well, my pattern is dates.
Dates are great,
Whatever is made of dates. No, it's like one of my jokes that, like, after I give birth, everybody is going to bring me date balls with nuts and whatever other goodies are in there. And I'm going to have a freezer full of just grab and go.
That's great. That's a great snack to go,
It is an amazing snack. And it was funny because this last time I made a batch with orange and my kids all didn't like it. So I was so happy because it was all for me. I was like, yes, finally.
More for you. Great. Yeah. So those are the questions I usually recommend you ask yourself when you reach out to food, and try to understand whether it's really, are you hungry or are you craving something? Because if you're hungry, with any good food, you will actually satisfy it. So if, let's say, you want a pack of chips, rather maybe say to yourself, oh, let me have some avocado and some salad, and see if after that I still want some chips. And if you do, then you will have it. But if not, then that was hunger, because you satisfied your hunger with the right food.
Right.
Whereas craving is like when you want that ice cream or that chocolate, you will reach out to that. Even if you keep pushing it away, you will still have it no matter what. And that could be because you are not well hydrated, or you didn't have a balanced meal, or you're really having this emotional eating feeling, and you need to work out why is that happening. And that's where you come in, right?
Yes, that is where I come in. I do a lot of work around that. How did you get into this?
So I got into this after about 7 years ago, after giving birth to my youngest daughter, where I had a difficult delivery, and I needed to recover myself from it. So it was like really, I find myself, I'm like, it was meant to be, and God had plans for me to go through this difficult delivery in order for me to help other people afterwards by helping myself. So when I helped myself, listening to my body, knowing what I needed, because I realized dairy is not good for me and gluten is not good for me. I eat spelt. Spelt is much easier for me to digest than white flour or even dark flour, whole wheat. And then when my family and my friends here by the way, I'm in Switzerland, for those that don't know, the community here, they realized the change I made, like how, it helped me. They asked me for help. And that's where I got started into helping them intuitively. But what worked for me doesn't work for everybody, because we're all different at the end. So it was putting this program together in order to help and identify everybody's own balance, And that's where, the food that's not on that plate comes in, because we can all eat the same food, but what's outside is completely different.
Yeah, and that was the whole thing with doing the work on food. Every person's going to say something different about food. For me, it was food is complicated. Food gives me stomach aches. Food hurts me. And for other people, it could be, food is, I don't know what, like whatever else you want to.
Rewarding, comforting.
Yeah. Rewarding, comforting, or food is all over the place. Everywhere I go, like they feel like they can't run away from it. So that's where you find the, that light, shining light into what is the emotion, what's going on. Is food complicated, or am I making it complicated? What's going on with complication? Like, what is complicated in my life right now, and what do I need to do about it? It is so eye-opening. I'm actually doing a a special bonus on Byron Katie, the work by Byron Katie. And I'm doing a free bonus from my retreat that I did. Anybody could sign up for it. It's happening this Wednesday, and I'm going to go through how to use it because it's so powerful. It's just so powerful.
Right. I actually started watching your retreat replays, and they're really amazing. I only watched the first one, but I'm looking forward to listening to the other.
Yeah, the first one works perfectly with what you're talking about because everybody's so unique. You have to find what works for you.
Absolutely. You need to find your balance. And we all have life happening, right? And we all have a different kind of dynamic at home, different children, different routine, and we all have different personalities. So we need to find that balance. And, food comes in because food, like you mentioned before, is really part of our lives.
Oh, yeah. It's a huge part of our life.
And especially as women, we're always thinking, what are we making for lunch? What are we making for supper? What are we bringing the kids? What are we give, It's weekend comes. Did we buy everything? Did we cook everything? So it's constantly there.
Oh my gosh. And after all this COVID, where we had like all these lockdowns, all we did was eat and shop and eat and shop. And I kept telling my kids, this is such a blessing, like everybody thinks this is awful and this and that. But imagine being in quarantine and starving, which was what the people in the Holocaust were going through. Like, you're not allowed to get out. You're in hiding. You can't even find food. You're like scrounging for whatever. You're all alone. You have to stay away from the blinds so that nobody could see you. Like that, my grandmother was hidden for 6 years.
Oh, wow.
And this is her whole story. And now, like, every time I called her, I'm like, isn't it amazing that now you live in Israel, you're stuck in your house, but you have your husband and you have food and people are delivering, like, things to you. It's a totally different reality. So when you put it in perspective, it was amazing. And with all of the abundance that we had of food, it was like, yeah, we had a lot to complain about, but we also had so much to be grateful for.
Yeah, there were a lot of positive things as well. I have to say, I used to go to the supermarket very often, and then since COVID, about 1.5 years now, I only go once a week, out to do my shopping, and I love it because I really focus on what I need, and thank God there's always enough.
Yeah,
it's amazing, and I don't need that going out anymore so much, and we need to be grateful for what we have. So
yeah. Here, this is my brother. He said, drinking water is helpful too.
Absolutely.
Is also helpful. And I think that one of the things he's referring, I think he's watching half of the in delay, but the part about, am I hungry? Am I craving? All these things. It's like, maybe I'm just thirsty. And which is, by the way, a huge
That's
thing.
what I mentioned before. You need to see if you're hydrated. Are you drinking enough? Ask yourself those questions and drink a glass of water and see if you're still hungry or craving.
It could never hurt to drink a cup of water.
No. Actually, drinking water has so many benefits in so many ways that you can just benefit from them. So just drink that water.
Drink the water. Oh my goodness. Yes.
And it takes about 21 days really to create a habit. So what I was talking about before, to see if you have a pattern and if you want to change something when you are reaching out to food, try to work out that new alternative that you're looking for 21 days, for 3 weeks, So
yeah,
that's really important.
That's pretty big.
Yeah, but 21 days is not that long, and it's still not that short. It's a long enough time to practice something.
Right.
So,
it is. It's a total game changer. You're only on day 1 of my retreat, but on day 4, yeah, I think it's day 4. We talk about that.
About 21 days.
21 days of taking one thing and actually sticking to it. It's very cute. You're going to love it. I think you should just keep going. I'm mentioning my retreat already twice. I did not think of, talking about it, but because we already did. If you want to go watch the replays, because hopefully, please God, I will be having a baby. And I thought it would be so sad if people heard about the retreat and didn't get to, come. And then they sign up and it's like in 6 months. It's like, oh, that's no fun. So I decided to give the replays. So if you go to connectedforreal.com/retreat, you will find the replays there and you can watch them. And it's going to be so awesome. It was super epic.
Well, the first one was great. So let's see. I'll keep you posted.
I know. It's pretty cool. And when it's live, then you actually watch them one day after another with a break for Friday, Saturday. But it creates like a rhythm, and then you see transformation. By the time you're done, you're like, how did we do that? And that was what was so epic, was all the feedback that we were getting. Like, people were just saying it was
awesome. Is it the first time you did the retreat or the second time?
This is the second time.
Great. Amazing.
Yeah. So the next one's in November.
Okay. So where did you mention about the 21 days? Maybe I'll jump. I just want to see that.
Don't jump. It's on day 4, but don't jump, because day 2 is actually amazing. Because I take you from the calm method is connect to yourself, and then, and then ask for abundance for God. So like day 1 is all about you, and day 2 is about God. And then day 3 is about your marriage. So even though it's the marriage breakthrough retreat, you actually talk about marriage only on day 3, because there's so much prerequisite to even getting to that. Because just like you're saying, all the behind the scenes about food, all the behind the scenes about marriage, like, it's not really about him or what he's annoying about, like, doing or saying or thinking. It's mostly about what's going on, with my relationship with myself and my relationship with God. And then once we get to marriage, then it's much easier to detangle that.
Okay, great.
And then the 4th day, just so that I can give you the full picture. So then day 4 is how to master it. And the mastering is
creating a habit.
Yeah, creating a habit that will actually move the needle and not just, leave you hanging.
Right.
So it was pretty amazing.
I'm very much into the 21 days right now, because I've launched my 21-day no sugar challenge, which starts next week Monday. And it's about creating that habit of ditching the sugar and finding the right alternatives. So I'm very, very excited.
So what are the right alternatives? Let's hear. This is exciting, because
the right alternative is finding the sweet foods, the foods which contain natural sugar, like the dates that you love,
Well, yeah.
So that are the right alternatives. We're also finding out about hidden sugars, with so many
everything
misleading labels that you read, and you think you're buying something healthy and you're not. And during the challenge, actually, it's 21 days. You have an accountability partner which keeps you accountable, so you're not alone. And that is and you can even bring your husband if you want to. So it's actually for women, but if you want to do it with your husband, I think it's also bonding, and it's great, and a great chance for couples to join something and to do something and create a habit together within their household.
That's amazing.
So it's a great challenge. It's the second time I'm running it. I did it 2 years ago, because last year with COVID, it was not really clear if I could do it, not do it, So I jumped a year, and 2 years ago I had 30 women joining, and it was just amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's really great. And there is a jackpot. So if you actually follow the guidelines and you stick to the 21 days without sugar, you split the jackpot at the end of the 21 days.
Whoa. So how much is to join your challenge?
So it's actually $160, but part of it goes to the jackpot, so yeah, so that's what it is for 3 weeks. And you can look at it, you can look for it on my website, fullinbalance.com, but maybe you can mention that later with the comments. I don't know.
Yeah, if we had, I don't have it written down, so I can't put it in a banner, but we'll put it in the chat after.
Yes, but I'm very excited. It's so I love it.
Cool, because no sugar is one of the hardest things. Me and my friend were talking about it. And she said that when she was learning to be a addictions counselor, so she's a marriage counselor and an addictions counselor. She did both both courses. And when they were learning about addictions, they had to get off of sugar for a month. And she said it was impossible. And she finally understood what it was like. Like, that was the whole point. If you have to help other people with addictions, you first have to deal with your addiction. And she said, everywhere you go to a gathering, there's cookies, there's cakes, there's nothing you can drink because everything's sugary. And then you go to a friend and they offer you and everything is sugar. And then you go to the store and you realize there's sugar in your tomato sauce and there's sugar in everything.
There's sugar everywhere.
Oh my goodness, she said it was so hard. And then, of course, the way your body reacts to not having the sugar. In the beginning, it goes absolutely nuts and you start craving everything and you have such a hard time.
It is hard. At the beginning, you have these withdrawal symptoms of like headaches and shaky legs because you're like addicted to it. You know, you can't resist it. And suddenly you're like off sugar. But you know, the good thing about this challenge is that you're not alone. You're together in a group.
What I was going to say. It's the fact that you even have an accountability buddy is like, tells me, oh my gosh, like I am going to be in good hands. Like I'm going to have who to turn to ask what to do next and what, you know, how do I deal with this? Because there's such a huge, I think one of the things was the alone factor, you know, where she had to go through it and there was no support. It was just like throw them in the water and tell them do this thing and see how hard it is. But like obviously as counselors, they're learning to be the support for the people who are going through it. So it's so important to have the support. And so that makes so much sense that you would have accountability partners. That was amazing.
So it's the support, is the group vibes, you know, keeping each other motivated, showing each other what you're eating. It's not a program, it's really a challenge. You just like I just give guidelines and then they need to follow them. But it's not that you're not allowed to have carbs or you're not allowed, you're eating less, you're eating just as much, it's just no sugar. So it's really great. So
yeah, I was going to join and then she told me I can't join because I'm pregnant.
No, you can't join. It's not for everybody, okay?
It's not for everyone. No. It's not. Luckily, I'm off the hook. But I also
next year. I do it once a year usually, so next year.
So yeah, maybe next year. Now I took sugar out of my house. Like white sugar is out completely for years already. And the funniest thing that happened was every time, like also white flour. And every time my in-laws would come, white sugar would appear and white pasta would appear and like all these white things that we never really have because they're like, what do you mean you don't have sugar? How are we supposed to drink our coffee? How are we supposed to do this and that and the other? So they bring it in. Then when they leave, it goes like, you know, who wants sugar? Somebody take the sugar. But it's just really, it really changes your, I think that's one of the things that's so helpful is cleaning your environment, because if it's not in the house, then you're less likely to use it. You know, like I remember when my mother was on a way of life, not diet, where they were trying to like eat more healthy and just bring in, you know, alternatives and things. One of the rules was just clean out your pantry, you know, just don't have the junk food around. Don't have the...
It is a bit challenging if you have children at home or grandchildren coming in, you know, it's not always easy. And I don't think it's the long-term solution not to have it at home. I think you should have a balance.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I hear that. I mean, I have kids at home and we're living fine without white sugar. So
no, it's okay. But I'm just saying for you, you're in this level that maybe you don't need it. But some people just say, oh, that's crazy, I can't do that. So it needs to be slowly, you know. It's like use what you have and see how you can add healthier options within what you have at home, you know.
I like that. Yeah, like definitely. What?
Like meal planning. I think meal planning is a key to emotional eating or to cravings. If you plan your meals, you'll be less likely to eat what you shouldn't eat. However, I don't recommend to meal plan, especially if you're coming from like not having really an experience doing meal planning with your family. Is like take what you have at home and try to see what can I add there, which is healthier alternatives for my children, for my husband. Because if you suddenly take everything out,
No.
it's not going to
No,
work.
it's not meant to take everything out. But, if you're doing a no sugar challenge and you're like afraid that the granola bars are going to call your name or that the chocolate bars, are lined up nicely and they're just calling you to just pick one out.
Right.
Don't buy them. Just,
Don't buy them, for sure not. But I'm just saying, if you have children at home who you want to give them to, or grandchildren that come and visit you, then you need to have something. And then it's probably easier to handle that situation. Is how to handle those granola bars that are in your closet, like in your pantry, rather than not buying them at all. Because then when you buy them, you're going to like go for them, right?
I hear you. It was very funny because somebody said, like, what do your kids eat? How do they get sugar if they don't get, if you don't buy all this junk? And I'm like, did you see how much they get? They go to this class, they get,
they get a lot,
they go here, they go the whole Sabbath, they're just eating junk. And it's not from my house. It's just
right.
The culture is
it's the culture every
so saturated with taffies and
and like I said, rewarding. You finish this class, then they give you this. On Friday you finish school, they give you also a lolly, or they give you, there's a birthday party. It's not about, it's about filling it up with candy. So this mentality, this culture. So it's a question of balance. Again, you need to have a balance, because if you take everything out, I mean, not during the challenge. The challenge is really no sugar. I'm just saying, if you want to introduce it at home, it's all with a balance, because otherwise I give sugar to my kids. I can't take it completely out, because otherwise they will go out and look for it somewhere else. And I can't do that.
So I let my kids have whatever they get if they want to, whatever. But I'm not going to go out of my way and buy lollipops, and definitely not the taffies.
Absolutely no. Yeah, they sell them to us. When we have this Purim, which is like the Jewish carnival, or like Simchat Torah, which is another Jewish holiday, and they get so many candies and sweets. They sell them to us for money, so we give them.
Smart kids.
They keep some, but they give us a lot. So,
so my only rule is, if anybody is interested in what I do, my biggest only rule is no toffee. No toffee. That's what it's called here, toffee. It is so all over the place. And the problem with toffee is that it gets stuck in your teeth forever. You can't brush it. You have to actually scrape it.
Yeah, I don't allow it either. That's something I don't allow.
It's ugh. So my kids already know when the teacher is giving out toffee, they say, I'm sorry, my mother doesn't let me. Do you have anything else? And usually they get something better, because the teacher doesn't have anything cheap to give. Like, this is the cheapest garbage there is. So it's like, okay, so you take a lollipop instead, or you take chocolate instead, or you whatever. And suddenly they got something better. So they actually feel like it's not a loss, which is nice. And they also learn that we have rules in the house. It's not like you can't have nothing, but there's one thing I don't let. So it's like, no, we're not allowed to have this.
But there are certain boundaries,
right,
that you're building.
Okay, so tell me how to write the what's it called, the challenge that you said. Where can we find it so that we can
I'll write it to you on the chat.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Send it to me in the chat, and I'll put it in the banner for all of you guys. There it is.
The 21-day no sugar challenge, starting next week Monday, and you can register until Thursday. So
I look up to you. If you're signing up, I look up to you, because it's a huge thing to take on, and I think it's amazing to do, because not only will it change the way that you feel, it also changes you, because committing to yourself is such a huge thing. Just the commitment of being willing to
commitment. It's also feeling better, because after those withdrawal symptoms, the first few days, maybe 1 week, you will feel such a different person. You'll be more in control of your food. You will have more energy. You will sleep better. Your skin can improve, and you will lose weight if you want to lose weight. So they're all wins there.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. And also, with all of this support, after the 21 days, I could just imagine how much easier it is to like keep it up, because
So
it's not as hard to start something.
definitely, I mean, from the experience last time, the ladies that joined, they kept on going for like maybe until like the summer holidays for sure, so another few weeks going there. And then you started something, you don't want to give it up. You're feeling great, you're losing weight, you have more energy. Why to start now? And you don't crave sugar anymore. So even when you will try sugar, you will feel, oh, this is too sweet, I don't want this, automatically. But
What's fun? I stopped the sugar. Like, I lowered my sugar intake. So when I make cakes, I make them to taste good. But when my mother tastes my cakes, she always says, ugh, this is like, yes, what happened? You forgot to put sugar? And I was like, what do you mean? This is so, and that's one of the reasons why I can't even eat the cakes that, my friends make. It just feels too sweet to me. Like, it doesn't even
they're too
feel,
sweet. It's just too, because we're not used to it anymore. We don't need it anymore. So we prefer
right.
having like some fruits, some sweet potato, something naturally sweet, rather than have like that cake or that ice cream, which is processed sugar. And that's how you feel after the 21-day no challenge, no sugar challenge. So I really recommend it.
Yes. It sounds amazing to me, so I'm totally excited.
Thank
If
you.
you guys have any questions for me or for Dalia, feel free to, tag us or send us messages privately. We're both on Facebook and Instagram, right? You're also on Instagram?
Right,
Yeah.
yes, I'm there, yeah.
And you can go to fullyinbalanced.com. I'll put the banner on again just for you, so you know where it is. Fullyinbalanced.com for the 21-day challenge of no sugar. And if you want to watch the retreat for free, you can go to connectedforreal.com/retreat.
Yeah.
And you'll find all of the replays there. They're really awesome. I'm not just saying they're awesome. Like, the feedback just keeps coming back. And people are still telling me, it was funny. It's called the Marriage Breakthrough Retreat because that's how I built it. I wanted it to be wherever you are, even if your marriage is amazing, is great. You can always get better. So it's like this, like, going to the next level. Anyway, I saw a friend walking down the street and she watched the replays and she says, I have to tell you, since I watched your classes, we had like a real breakthrough. And I was like, do you realize it's called the Breakthrough Retreat? She's like, oh, actually, I didn't think of that. But yeah, it worked. So it's been really fun just to watch everybody. It's phenomenal.
But I think it's very interesting that you said you're like a marriage coach for women in business, right? Is that what you do?
Yes.
And I think that's really like a specific niche. It's not just like marriage coaching, right?
Oh, no, it's very specific because so here's what happened. Here's how I got into it. I was a graphic designer for 15 years and I was climbing the ladder and I was becoming bigger and bigger and more, sophisticated in my niche and in what I was doing. I got really into package design for product lines. So I was doing like, socks and underwear and the tights and all of that stuff. And then, all the different soaps or all the different, cosmetics, like everything needs to look like it's part of the family, but each one needs to look individual. And so I got really into that and I loved it. It was my favorite thing to do. And I felt like the more I grew, the more my husband like sort of stayed where he is. And there was like a gap happening. And anywhere I turned, I found that it was built, like all the marriage advice was built for men's on top and woman's on bottom, and he's controlling, and he's telling her what to do, and he's this and that, whatever. And she has to learn how to, you know, put herself up and hold herself this and hold her boundaries and like, you know, like bring herself to a place where she feels like she is deserving of being an equal. Here it was totally different. It was the wrong advice because like, what do you want me to do? I can't be like, you want me to stop being successful and just, you know, to contain my marriage and keep it safe and successful? Or do you want me to give up my marriage so I can finally like lean into my purpose? Like, what is this? I don't want to have to choose. And so I decided I don't want to choose, so I'm not going to choose.
Good for you.
I'm going to have them both. And I had to figure it out pretty much on my own with all my own, you know, people I turned to and the guides and whatever. But like, no one was specifically a marriage. It was most like, you know, more God-centered, you know, my mentors, my friends, my colleagues, whatever. Like I was collecting a ton of tools and things that were working for me. And then I was like, wow, you guys, this is amazing. I'm actually growing and growing and growing. And my husband's supporting me and he's helping me grow instead of holding me back. Because the whole time I felt like he was holding me back and keeping me small and, you know, whatever. I'm sure I'm not the only one because every time I tell the story, everybody's like, yes. So
my husband is very supportive. I don't think I would be where I am today if he wouldn't be backing me up the way he is. But yes, we need to find that balance also there, you know, it's not like always.
For sure. And it's constant balance. It's constantly finding a balance and finding the boundaries and finding what am I doing and what is the right thing for me right now. And, you know, I was just thinking about, we were talking about food, and this was something that I was thinking about. You know, it's like going to a buffet and feeling like you have to take this. Like everybody is taking the main, so you have to take the main too. And like, but I love the salads. I would rather have an entire plate of all the different salads and maybe like a little bit of fish or something on the side and like be done. And everybody's like, no, but you have to get the potatoes and you have to get the chicken and you have to get this, whatever. And I was like, okay, so then I end up with 2 plates, right? And it's like stuffing whatever, and like the things that I don't actually want, and then I don't have room for what I like. And it's like, stop listening to what you have to do or should do. Just focus on what fills you up and what makes you happy. And that's exactly like that in life and in,
Absolutely.
you know, and in business. It's like, if you want to make your marriage work, make it work for you.
Absolutely.
Make sure that you are actually doing the things that are working for you and not everybody else. Like my husband makes the food in the house because I just can't deal with food especially when I'm pregnant. So, and like people look at us and they're like, that's so weird, or you're so lucky or whatever. Yeah. So there's things I do that he's supposed to do, and there's no supposed to. You just have to do whatever works for you.
You need to do whatever works for you. Absolutely. Yeah. In business, in life. And everybody is different and everybody needs to find what's right for them. Right. With food, with marriage.
Yes. With life. Yeah. So that's how I got into it. It was because I had to go through it myself. Like you said, everybody is, you know, Rabbi David Aaron once spoke on the Don't Keep Your Day Job podcast. And he said, it takes one to know one and it takes one to help one. Because you can't help someone if you weren't in their shoes, you know, and God gives you your challenges in your life and your difficulties, mostly so that you figure out what to do with it and then use it to.
So that's what happened to me as well. Exactly that. And very grateful for that situation. It was tough. It was challenging. But today you look back and you just like know that was meant to be because of a reason. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Okay, so next week we have a live with, what was her name? I forgot her name, but we're going to be talking about parenting ADHD symptomed kids. So if you have children with symptoms of ADHD, She has just written a book and it's phenomenal. And we're going to talk about that. So make sure you come. It is going to be on Tuesday. Soon I'm going to stop doing the lives because I'm getting more and more uncomfortable. As you see, I'm like, moving back and forth. But the week after, we have a whole thing about money and how to succeed with money, and how that affects marriage. So we have a bunch of really great stuff lining up, but I'm giving you guys a heads up. I'm going to have to stop soon. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm so happy that you came. Do you have anything specifically like practical that we can walk away with and be like, yes, that is what I want to do tomorrow when I have a craving or a feeling?
So I would like to remind everybody, just try to analyze, try to define why are you having this craving. Is it because you're hungry? Is it because you're craving? Is it because of a emotion? Are you tired? Are you anxious? Are you hungry? And
Right.
try to figure that out from that point of view. And drink your glass of water before you reach out to that food, like your brother mentioned.
Yeah.
It's definitely important. So, yeah.
Yes, that's amazing. It's a good reminder. Yes. I just ask what just happened. Like when I go to food, I'm like, wait, what just happened? What am I feeling? Because it's usually it went over my head that, something hurt my feelings or somebody was, I don't know, very shallow and I'm a deep person or something. And it like bugs me. I'm like, 1 second, what just happened? And then it
But
turns around.
even, let me just say, if you do reach out to food and you're going to have it, enjoy it as well and stand behind your choice, right?
For sure.
Don't
Yes.
feel guilty or try to blame yourself for something that happened. Next time, if you want to make it differently, you'll do differently because you're learning from the experience. But what's really very important is to stand behind your choices, whatever you choose to eat.
I love that advice. Woo, that was powerful.
You need to stand behind your choices, definitely, and
I love.
enjoy life
Yes.
and
Yes.
food.
Enjoy life, enjoy food. I love this conversation. Thank you so much, Dalia, for
Thank
joining me
you.
today. Thank you to my brother, who is such an active participant in our chat. And anybody else who is in the replay, just do #replay. Make sure that you tag me or Dalia if you have any questions. And we will see you next week in our next live.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
for
everyone.
having me. Bye.